Hello, my friend. I am so excited to dive into this week's podcast episode for you on this week's astrology. Oh my goodness. This is going to be quite the week. I'll be diving deep into the transits of this week for you. I will also be sharing more on this upcoming full moon in Sagittarius. I will then share how I see the relationship between love and money and how you can kind of look at this in your birth chart. I will then end off this podcast episode with a tarot reading of what energy to embrace, what energy to let go of. So let's just dive right into it. Starting off with June 5th. This is a really pivotal day. We have Mercury in Gemini square the North Node in Pisces this day. This feels as though we're trying to move ahead, move forward with our goals. However, maybe potentially you've overscheduled yourself. Maybe you feel a bit overwhelmed by what you have to get done. Maybe you're overthinking a situation, or there's some conversations you have to have before you're able to actually move forward with your goals, especially when it comes to spiritual partnerships, emotional integrity, processing your emotions, also your relationship to your mental health. So this is really interesting. On the same day, we have Venus in Aries sextile Jupiter in Gemini. This is quite lovely. This feels very loving, especially when it comes to our friends. You could be seeing some friends this day, or just having some really good conversations with people in your local community. This could also look like your sibling calling you and you're just having a really good catch-up call. This looks as though you're being seen by your friends, you're being supported in some way, and you're also doing the same thing for your friends. So this feels super lovely. This also looks like potentially you are really aligning your values to your communication. So potentially, maybe you're sharing more of your values online if you have a business. This could also look like you really valuing yourself and you're sharing more about this. You're really speaking into existence what you want to happen for yourself. On the same day, we have Mercury in Gemini sextile to Mars in Leo. This looks like you're aligning your words to your actions. So you could get more creative inspiration and motivation this day. You could feel as though whatever you said you're going to do, you're getting that push to do it, which is great, honestly. This also looks like potentially you have some accountability with some friends for a creative project, or you're trying to really get something started and going, and you just feel like the creative ideas are flowing for you. So this is really cute, very lovely. Now on June 6th, we have Venus entering Taurus. This is such a lovely transit. Venus is at home in the sign of Taurus, meaning that it just loves being in this sign. So with Venus in Taurus, this feels luxurious. This feels very grounding, especially when it comes to our money and love life. Venus is the planet of values. It's how we show love and affection. And in the sign of Taurus, this is us really enjoying the earthly pleasures of life. So this is you potentially just enjoying your cup of coffee with a delicious pastry. This is you really treating yourself to those new shoes you wanted to get. This is you really just spending some time in nature and witnessing, okay, there's so much beauty in the everyday present moment. So I really see this as a beautiful transit for us. We're just going to feel extra loving, but more so in this comforting way of wanting to enjoy life, wanting to just stay present, staying grounded, but doing this every day and also sharing this with the people we love. So in a relationship, this could just look like checking in on someone, telling them that they mean a lot to you, and doing daily check-ins with your friends. This could be something that feels just very enjoyable. Or potentially sharing an outfit with a friend to get their opinion. This also is a great energy just to go out to restaurants and enjoy really good food. Now, on the same day, we have Mercury in Gemini, sextile to Chiron in Aries. This feels very healing. We're having some really deep conversations with our friends this day, and you could just be opening up to old wounds around your sense of worthiness, being seen in friendships, being seen in relationships, or just being seen in general. This feels very, very healing for us. You could just feel very vulnerable this day, but in the end, you're feeling more relief because you're able to share something that's been weighing on you. I love this. I love this for us. Then on June 8th, we have Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter in Gemini. And this is very interesting. This looks like information overload. This is still lucky. You could just be hearing from so many friends this day, or you could just be wanting to have a lot of conversations at this time. This looks like we're expanding our voice and sharing our voice to really share our ideas, our curiosity, and understanding, okay, how can I amplify what I need to share? This could be a time when you get that idea. This is also a great time to meditate, to do something spiritual. This is also a great time to study because you're going to want to soak in that knowledge. You're going to want to have a conversation with someone based on the research you've done. If you have a business, this is a great time to share your work online, to share it with a lot of people. This is also great energy to go to a networking event because you could potentially meet someone that knows someone that could get you an opportunity. Keep this in mind. I will say Jupiter can lead to burnout, so just be cautious of this. You could be having so many different conversations this day that it could feel a little bit overwhelming, so keep this in mind. I will also share this is also very uplifting energy. Your friends could just feel very, very motivating right now during this time. On the same day, we have Mercury entering Cancer, and Mercury is the planet of thinking and communication. In the sign of Cancer, we're going to be seeking more nourishing conversations. We're trying to be there in a very empathetic and compassionate way. Mercury in Cancer wants us to be that safe space for people. It's a beautiful energy for us to call a relative at home, to have a conversation. It's a beautiful energy to think about what home looks like and feels like to you. So this energy is just very, very intuitive as well. So keep in mind what you pick up on with this transit. That's going to be super important. You're also going to have just nurturing your home life even more on your mind during this time. And you could just be more compassionate and understanding to the people you're with, to the people you're having conversations with. Now, those are the major transits of this week. I do want to dive into the full moon in Sagittarius chart for you, even though it's not till next week, but I do believe this is going to help you prepare. This is going to help you get excited. So let's dive into it. Now, this full moon in Sagittarius is happening on June 11th, 2025 at 3:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's happening at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. What's really, really interesting about this full moon is it's a bit chaotic. I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be quite the full moon. Now, I say this because we have a few tense aspects in this full moon chart. The ruler of this full moon is Jupiter in Cancer, which is gorgeous. It's lovely. It's at 0 degrees of Cancer. Jupiter enters Cancer on the 9th. I'll dive deeper into that in next week's episode. Yet, with Jupiter at 0 degrees of Cancer, this is super lucky. Jupiter's in its exaltation. This just means it loves being in the sign of Cancer. And what's also interesting is Jupiter is conjunct Mercury in Cancer. So we're having a lot of nourishing, intuitive, compassionate, empathetic conversations with this full moon. Now, this is still very lucky. However, Jupiter is making a square to Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries. So this feels honestly a bit frustrating. We're feeling a bit conflicted. We're feeling like we need to make a change when it comes to our systems and structures, especially when it comes to our identity, how we see ourselves. What are you doing to prioritize how you show up for yourself? What are you doing to prioritize what you want out of life? And how are you showing up and setting those boundaries for this? Jupiter wants to grow and expand, whereas Saturn wants to restrict. So when these two meet in a square, this is us feeling as though we can't grow in the way we want to because Saturn wants you to slow down. This could also look like, okay, I need to make a change in my life for me to actually grow in the way I want to. What's also interesting is Jupiter is also in a square to Neptune in Aries. Neptune is going to confuse us, okay? A square to Neptune is very foggy. It can make us feel lost. You could feel like it's harder to know, okay, what do I need to let go of? Full moons are all about releasing and letting go. So with Neptune here, we're trying to uncover, okay, what am I still not getting? What am I still not processing? This is still a very artistic and creative energy. This is honestly a lovely energy to make art, to do something creative, to dance, to really celebrate something that is a huge artistic or creative achievement for yourself. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is not my favorite full moon. This is a wild card full moon. I'm gonna give you a heads up, expect the unexpected, because not only is Jupiter in a square to Saturn, we have Mars in Leo in a square to Uranus in Taurus. This is uncomfortable, okay? We're going to feel like a lot is happening. There's chaos. People are on edge. Expect the unexpected. People's egos can get in the way with Mars and Leo. With Mars and Leo in a square to Uranus and Taurus, this looks like there's some unexpected things that could come up with our finances, when it comes to our creative projects, when it comes to our home, when it comes to our food. This looks very uncomfortable. It looks like we have to change something with our approach to taking initiative and action, especially in terms of how we show up for ourselves. So what this could potentially look like is perhaps you're trying to change your spending habits. This is a huge possibility. Perhaps you're trying to change how you organize your finances, or you're trying to change homes and you're looking at different homes, but unexpected things keep coming up with putting something down for a home. This is a huge possibility. However, you could get a huge breakthrough when it comes to how you're showing up for yourself, how you are showing up for your finances, how you are showing up for your creativity and self-expression, how you're being seen. This is really helpful. With this square to Uranus, we're getting this breakthrough around how are you approaching work and how are you approaching your dating life? What makes you feel safe? What does this look like to you? I will say a lot of the major themes with the full moon in Sagittarius are around how are you sharing your knowledge? How are you broadening your perspective? How are you learning more? Is this through travel? Is this through higher education? Is this through spirituality? Is this through trying to deepen your knowledge to the universe and what you want more of? This is a moon to dream bigger. And when we dream bigger, sometimes we start to see how there can be certain restrictions and limitations to what we're comfortable with, what we think is our normal. So to get to that next level, this is a full moon to see, okay, I need to raise the bar. I need to go even deeper. I need to put myself out there in a new way. The challenging energy with this full moon is some people are going to try to escape. You could see people being a little bit more avoidant. Keep this in mind. You could see people wanting to just get lost, right? Wanting to run away. Keep this in mind. It's not to scare you. It's just to know that this can be a reaction from some people. And if you're feeling this way within yourself, this need to run away, this need to escape, this need to be free, this full moon can give you a breakthrough around how can you really take the time for yourself to find that inner peace within yourself. Because oftentimes we're trying to run away from our problems when we're not sitting with ourselves. We're not accepting where we are. We're not fully celebrating where we are and being present, giving ourselves that time to rest, to recharge, to see which thoughts come out so that we can hear them, to see our shadow self and witness it and realize, actually, I'm going to love all parts of myself, even the ones that are afraid, even the ones that want to run away, right? Because sometimes we feel like we're in danger, but oftentimes your body just needs some space to rest, to remind you it's safe, to calm your nervous system. This is the time to do that. I want to really, really emphasize this. Now, what I really love about this full moon is Mars in Leo is in a trine to Chiron in Aries. So this is very healing for us. You could feel as though you're being seen now for your creativity. You're being seen for your vulnerability. You're being seen for understanding your wounds in a deeper light when it comes to how you approach relationships, how you approach work. And this is very, very nourishing. People could feel a little bit sensitive this day. Keep this in mind. I honestly think people are going to be really chaotic this day. So just know this. However, this is still such a lovely energy if you feel like it's been hard to show up for yourself. If you've been feeling as though, okay, I can take these actions, I can show up, go to that workout I wanted to do, I can really prioritize my needs. This is the time to do so. I will say with this fire energy, this is a great time to do something active, to dance it out, to run a marathon, to create some art. This can feel so invigorating and motivating right now. Now, what's also happening in this full moon chart is Venus in Taurus is in a square to Pluto in Aquarius. This is intense. People can be very obsessive right now, especially when it comes to love and money. So this can feel a bit overwhelming. Try not to get stuck in a scarcity mindset. You could just feel like there's some unpredictable things that come up with this full moon that are testing your patience a little bit. Yet it's also reminding yourself that you're going to be safe no matter what, right? I want you to keep this in mind. Venus in a square to Pluto feels like we're in survival mode. It is showing us what we've been missing. So you could get a good perspective when it comes to your finances in terms of what you've been avoiding, for example, or what you've been avoiding in your dating life. Potentially, perhaps you're showing up in a way where you're self-sabotaging in terms of your dating life, and you're realizing, okay, I need to stop making this my default state. I need to stop pushing people away, for example, instead of coming together and having a conversation. This is just one possibility, but this is a really enlightening full moon. I really believe this full moon can change so much for you. This is a full moon of change, and this is super exciting. Yet I wouldn't overbook yourself too much this day. Please keep this in mind. Everyone's going to feel a bit emotional, but more so in a way where they want to get away. They want to have some time to explore, to do something big. This is also a great day to go to a workshop, by the way, or to watch something that really expands your mind. If you want to manifest for new moons and full moons, you can join the waitlist for the Moon Sign Creative Community down below. We have a full moon in Sagittarius event, which is super exciting, yet it's not open to new members just yet. We will open the doors back up to the Moon Sign Creative Community for the new moon in Cancer event later this month. I'll leave a link to that down below if you want to join us. The Moon Sign Creative Community is so sweet, so kind, so empathetic. We really value self-growth, empathy, compassion, creativity, but also connecting with one another, being there to support each other through our wins, through what's happening in our life. It's a life-changing community if you really value astrology and manifestation. Now let's dive into the connection between love and money and what this looks like in your birth chart. So I want to share a story around this for myself and how I made this connection as well. I've heard this from many money experts, that there is this connection between how we show ourselves love, how we see our self-love, how we feel loved by other people, and how this translates to how much money we earn and how we're able to attract money into our life. I'm just going to share my personal story of what patterns I've noticed in my life. This is not financial advice, but hopefully you can get some good takeaways from this episode to reflect on your own patterns when it comes to self-love and how you earn more money, what this looks like. So for myself, I've noticed some really interesting patterns around how much money I earn and if I was in a relationship or single. And just looking back at my dating history and the amount of money I earned during certain times. I remember in 2015, I was living with an ex during that time, and I was doing some freelance graphic design work. The year prior to this, I just moved in with my ex, and I would say that year was really difficult for me. That was probably the hardest money year of my life because it was the first year I moved out of my mother's place. It was the first year I was paying rent. It was a lot when it came to student loans I had to pay back, and I was trying to find a design job at that time. So I had some really horrible design internships. I still had some really great internships, I do want to say, but during that year, I was in a very scarce place. I didn't know how I was going to make rent some months because I had some really, again, hard internships that I then quit in terms of potential full-time work. I also had my first full-time job that I quit within a month. I had a whole episode on that if you want to go back to previous episodes. Yet that year, I really had to surrender. My main lesson in 2014 was to surrender to what was happening and not attach to a certain outcome. To remind myself I'm safe no matter what, and to not overly obsess over making money. This in itself was very difficult for me. I do want to mention that it was very hard. And because I was in a relationship that year, I felt both this mix of feelings where I felt this pressure to make money for my share of the rent, but also I felt supported in case of emergencies, in case of anything. So there was this duality in this relationship where I didn't feel completely safe that year, and it was for a number of reasons, mainly my work situation. So I was trying to learn to surrender and to trust, and how this kind of corresponded to my love life at that time was there's some tension with me and my ex at this time, yet he was still very supportive. So it wasn't until 2015 that I started to get a flood of clients come in. I started to get more design work. I was getting so much more money than previous years. And I really see this as me feeling more supported by my ex during that year. I felt as though this had a strong correlation to me making more money because I felt more safe in that relationship. And even though we were dating for quite a few years, it was my first full year of living with him. So it was a whole different situation. So I would say 2015 to 2016 were my best financial years in my design career. And just looking back, I will say I burned myself out a lot. I was overworking so much. However, it did help me pay off my student loans. So there was that. Yet it's interesting because when I reflect on what was happening in my second relationship that took place after that relationship ended, I started to see that my relationship with money started to change. And this is because I was not working at that time when I was in that relationship because I was in my master's program. So I was pulling out of savings. So I still felt safe with money, but I didn't believe in myself as much as my previous relationship. So this was interesting. I really contemplated about this, and I just felt like because it was a newer relationship, there was still this uncertainty, there was this confusion in terms of what was going to happen next, and this directly impacted my finances. I was bleeding through money. However, again, I was in my master's program, so I didn't want to overwork while I was still writing papers and doing projects. So it was a very, very interesting situation for this, to see this correlation and to see this connection, because I did see how I felt in that relationship was affecting how I spent my money. After that breakup, I would say I felt really, really scarce, even though I was making money at this time. So after my last breakup, I remember just feeling as though I was alone. I felt as though I was very unloved. This is understandable. I had wounds around feeling abandoned that I had to heal. This was really, really affecting me in terms of how I was organizing my money, but also me showing up to help more people, me showing up to promote my work. And because of this, it did take me some time to see that I felt unlovable. So I wasn't showing myself as much love as I did in previous years, because at that time I had other people to show me that love. So I wasn't really prioritizing my self-love, my own growth. When I started to really, really do some deep healing work around how I saw myself, how I loved myself, that's when I start to see an increase in my finances. Yet it's been quite a few years of me healing my money mindset, for me shifting from a scarcity mindset into an abundance mindset. Again, a lot of work being done around my family patterns and how my family spent money and what this looked like to me and how I could do things differently in the best possible way. Now, when it comes to your birth chart, the place to look at when we think of money and love is your Venus sign. Your Venus sign is going to show you what you truly value. Because the thing is, you're going to feel richer if you focus on spending money on the things you value instead of the things you don't. This is really key, because if you're feeling like you're overspending, you can check your Venus sign and see, okay, what do I actually value? And how can I prioritize those things over the things that I actually don't really need? This is a great way to do so. I know for myself, I have Venus in Virgo, retrograde. A lot of my money is spent on mentorship, courses, education, but also my health and how I take care of myself. This is a great place to start. The second thing I want you to look at is what makes you feel lovable in your birth chart. What are your favorite placements? look at your birth chart and I want you to affirm those qualities. So, for example, perhaps you have Mercury in Leo. You can speak out loud and affirm, I am creative. I am authentic. I matter, right? Create affirmations on the favorite parts of your birth chart that you love. And that's going to amplify your self-love for yourself. The more self-love you have, the more money you're going to attract. Yet, I don't want you to look at it this way. I want you to think of it more so as, okay, how can I feel good no matter what? What will money bring me in terms of that feeling? And how can I feel that now? Which leads me to the next place in your birth chart to look at, which is your moon sign. Your moon sign will show you how you nurture yourself, how you take care of yourself, what you really need. For example, I have a Cancer moon, and the way I nurture myself and take care of myself is allowing myself to cry things out if I need to. To be completely honest, I cried my eyes out before filming this episode because I had so many stored up emotions that I needed to release. So I had to give myself space to cry things out, to rest, to recharge, and then I reminded myself I'm safe, I'm good, and that I'm still able to film today, which is amazing. Yet, looking at your moon sign can really, really help you in terms of processing your emotions to see how to regulate your nervous system. And this, in turn, is going to help you attract more money into your life. So I know, for example, if I emotionally feel really good in terms of my Cancer moon and I'm intuitively feeling rich and abundant, I am going to attract more into my life. If, for example, you have a Sagittarius moon, that is going to be a different feeling to really activate. A Sagittarius moon, for example, might want to explore and to really seek knowledge or to do something different, to do something novel, to do something fun. That's going to attract more money in for a Sagittarius moon. Go check your moon sign. I have YouTube videos for all your moon signs, and really spend some time to nurture and take care of your moon sign, because that's going to help you so much with calling in more abundance. I will mention, if you have heavy Pluto aspects in your birth chart, then this could look like having your sun in a square to Pluto, or just having any aspects to Pluto in your birth chart. There's a lot here that you have to heal in terms of scarcity and survival mode, right? So I want to give you that insight because I know it can be extremely validating. I know that for myself, when I learned Pluto was in my second house, if you're a Libra rising and you're a millennial, you most likely have Pluto in your second house. This is really learning that there can be a lot of ups and downs when it comes to your finances, especially if you don't know how to process your emotions and how to really not react out of scarcity. Keep this in mind. I dive so much deeper into how to understand how to read your birth chart in terms of money specifically in my Astrology Foundations course, Scene Secrets. I do have a waitlist for the course. You can check out the link for that down below to save 50% off if you're on the waitlist. So go check that out if you want to learn astrology from me, if you want to learn how to read your birth chart, and you want to dive really, really deep into your family patterns, your career patterns, your money patterns, and so much more. I'll leave a link to that down below. Yet I really hope this gave you a good perspective on your relationship to money and love. And I'd love to hear your insights and your realizations from this in the comments down below. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you're enjoying these weekly podcast episodes, please like, comment, and subscribe because it really does help me out. Okay, let's dive into your tarot reading for this week. The first card out is the King of Wands. I love this for the full moon in Sagittarius next week. You won't be feeling the full moon just yet this week. Keep this in mind, but you will be feeling it at the end of this week. So just a few days before and a few days afterwards. The King of Wands wants you to stand in your power. The King of Wands wants you to do something creative, to share your voice, to lead, to stand up for yourself, and do something different. Be brave. I love this card. This is you recognizing, actually, I have something really, really unique to put out there into the world. So stand in your power, really soak in your confidence and build up your confidence, because that's going to help you so much with this energy. The next card out is the Fool card. So even though this is a full moon, which usually I would say new moons are more so about new beginnings, this is sharing that this full moon, there's a lot to release and let go that can help you feel more free, that can lead you to a new beginning. The Fool wants you to explore. The Fool wants you to share your voice, have more conversations of what makes you feel more free, but also to watch your step, because it can feel a little bit chaotic, yes, but the Fool gives us this fresh new energy, this naivety that allows you to try something new, try something different. I do think that exploration is going to be a huge, huge theme for this full moon. So I'm excited for you to see what comes up for you. The next card out is the Nine of Pentacles reverse. So you could feel a little bit unstable this week. Keep this in mind. This feels as though you're wanting to feel more in your power, and this energy feels as though you're trying to figure out what grounds you if it's not money. What grounds you if it's not the people around you? How can you let go of what you think you need to have in the material world to be happy? How can you just be? What does this look like to you? Maybe this grounding practice that you can do for yourself can help you find more stability within yourself. Perhaps this is journaling, meditation, EFT tapping, going into nature, doing something to really center yourself, right? Because sometimes we think a certain goal is going to make us happy, and then we're not as happy as we thought we would be once we reach that goal. So this card is a reminder for you to find that stability within yourself, to love yourself in such a deep way that you feel safe no matter what, that you trust yourself no matter what. Our block this week is the Five of Pentacles. So, okay, we're feeling a little bit let out in the cold this week. You could feel like a wound comes up for you this week that feels as though it's triggered an abandonment wound, for example, or you're just feeling as though, okay, why is this not working? What's happening? Why can't this take place? Why can't I find this partner? Why can't I get this job? Why can't I do this? I want you to know that this card symbolizes change. And what's important for this card is perspective. So how can you shift your perspective to knowing that everything is always working out for you? Even if you feel like it's not working out for you, I want you to ground yourself and see that things are actually in a really, really good place for you. How can you shift into a state of gratitude for what you have? I asked what would help us with this, and we got the Lover's card. So I love this card. This is all about choice. How can you choose to see the good? How can you choose to step into the person you want to be so that you can feel loved, so that you can feel more safe? Because you're always going to show up for yourself. You're always going to have yourself. I also see this card as lean on support if you want support. Ask for help if you need it. Sometimes we can get in our minds and then just push people away, but this is a reminder that sometimes people just get scared. right? We can just be scared. We could self-sabotage good things because if it doesn't feel normal, sometimes your mind doesn't feel like that's safe. So the Lovers wants to remind you, it's okay to ask for help. Lean on the people you love and you care about. This is a coming together with someone to see what you already have. How can you see that you're loved? How can you see that you're worthy of what you want? And how can you show up for yourself in new, exciting ways? What version of yourself are you picking? Now, your oracle cards are release, which makes sense. This is a full moon. This is the time to cry it out. This is the time to let go. This is the time to stop carrying all this extra weight, all this extra baggage in your mind. Remind yourself that this is the time to let things go. You also got notice predictable rhythms. So look at the patterns in your life. Look at what comes up for you and what needs to change for you based on this. The last card out is plant a seed and wait. I love this. Set your intentions, right? This is a great time to still manifest again, but I want you to set your intentions because whatever you do now is going to unfold for you over the next 6 months. So keep this in mind. This is super, super exciting. So I really hope this helped, friend. If you want to manifest for new moon and full moon events, go check out the waitlist for the Moon Sign Creative Community. And if you want to grow your spiritual wellness or creative business to the next level this year, check out my Boldest You mentorship program. I only have 2 spots left for this mentorship. This is a life-changing mentorship if you want my help and support in growing your business using astrology, mindset work, energetic work, social media strategy, and brand strategy. My Boldest You mentees are getting rave results, so go check out those testimonials, go apply. I'm excited to see who I get to help and work with long-term to help you make your dreams a reality for this year. Thank you so much for watching, friend. Just remember the universe has your back, and with peace and love, take care.